Welcome to the Edge of Light. My name is Michael Hemmett. Let's take 10 breaths. So today I wanted to bring some clarity on like a very fashionable piece of advice that people give, which is to find your joy. And I get it, of course, encouraging someone to go and be happy makes a lot of sense. However, um, it's coming at the issue, I think, like from a blind spot. And what I mean by that is, if you were to say to somebody, "Go find your joy," what you're doing is you're implying a setup like, here's you, here's your joy, and there's this barrier or obstacle or whatever in between. And typically that whatever that is people like try to make it seem um like you, perfect partner, then joy, you, great job, then joy. um you know Even the ones that will say, you, inner peace and joy, it's still, to go and find your joy is to imply that the joy is out there. And I think that that's what that misunderstanding needs to be reconciled. So what I'm suggesting is that the joy is not out there, that in fact it is here. The joy is here all the time. And to be fair, this may be to some people splitting hairs, but I still think it's worth discussing. So there is, in a sense, a barrier, but it's a barrier of how you are perceiving yourself and the stuff that you are carrying. It's not that you have to go and find anything. It's a matter of relaxing enough to let the joy that is there to bubble out. I think a way of understanding this is like, um, when you're at work, or you're doing something mundane or something that you would typically find irritating. um, and if someone would just ask you, are you feeling joyful? And maybe you say yes, if you're being cheeky, which I tend to be. But um, but you know, most often people say no. But once I'm out of this situation, then I'll be joyful. Again, setting up that distance. Now, um, when in another scenario that you are basically like distracted from yourself, not distracted in a general sense of from the present moment, but distracted sufficiently by the present moment to experience um, what that sense that we all know it, but that sense of not being burdened by thoughts about about the life around you. And one thing that I notice this over and over again is, for myself, my wife, my mother, when we all look at the baby, you just look at the baby, and you're just like overwhelmed because you're so focused. And then it's not that the baby brings in joy. I mean, even though that kind of, people talk about it like that, but it's that by watching the baby, then you momentarily, hopefully longer, choose to let go of these mental burdens, you know. And I think that's the reason why meditation is so effective. You know, it's this focused attention away from your burdens. Um, and you know why people go cliff jumping. You know, it's these environments where you encourage or force, in some circumstances, yourself to let go of these contrived burdens. Now, it again, you know, just for clarity, it would be worth saying that um, just like all spiritual insights or knowledge or anything like that, there's always kind of this like annoying backdoor for bypass. And so um, finding a way to sufficiently distract yourself so that you are you know contriving a sense of joy, that's not going to help you. And strategies like that is what leads to all sorts of addictions. You know, that kind of strategy of distraction is not that's not what I'm talking about. That's not I wouldn't say that that's a legitimate return to the center. That's just distracting from the distraction. You know, it's just another spin out that makes it even more difficult to get back. Um, so the so of course I would say yes, I want you, everyone, myself included, be joyful. And it's really important to remember that the joy is not something that you have to go and get. It's not separate from you. It's not something that you have to earn, that you have to work towards, as much as it's something that's intrinsic to your being, and it's a matter of relaxing into that, letting go of things that are bothering you, which in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, is just your thoughts. You know, I've talked about this before, but it's the negative thinking that clouds the joy. Um, so uh, yeah, I think this particular uh, topic, you know, theme, it came up because in the previous episode I was talking about the value of religion, and I don't I am by no means a scholar of Christianity, but there is one passage that I am very fond of because while you know, of course, the original Bible was not written in English, and it's been translated a bunch of times through a bunch of people, and you know, critics of the Bible would say, you know, it's like telephone, and things, you know, they change as they propagate, and there could be something to that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a scholar of the Bible, but whether that's true or not, there's nuggets in there that I think they're so simple and beautiful and powerful that that you just can't crack it, you know, like you can't ruin it. It's too good. And one of them, in my opinion, my favorite one, I think, is make sure to get this right. It's Psalms 46:10, and it is be still and know that I am God. And it just it just like descends on me in such a powerful way. I can't um I mean that if you needed like if you understood that, as far as I'm concerned, if you understood that, what is that? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Those 8 words, the rest of the Bible is extra. It's redundant. Um, it's not necessary. The Bible or any other sacred text ever. It's just extra. Read it at your leisure. It's just for fun. If you got that one piece, because it's such a concise and intense description of exactly what's going on. And And I just think that so as I'm saying that joy is there, but the activity of the mind in engaging in like my back hurts and my wife is this and my boss is that and the weather and the president and the conflict over there and just all these things, and it just weighs on you. um but if you can just take a breath, 10 breaths, um relax and be still, let all that narrative, you don't stop it, don't fight it, don't engage in any kind of struggle. Just let it exist and float around when whatever ethereal medium it exists. You don't have to wrestle with it. People do. It's very common. It seems like it's a requirement, but I promise you that it's not. And this is exactly the wisdom of this passage. Be still and know that I am God. And that knowledge of God, that and what I would say knowledge of self as the divine, is the immediate and direct conclusion to the stillness. And it's a practice. I don't mean to imply that I exist in that state all the time. I don't. Um, but if there was, like I said, if I were to condense the gajillion pages of spiritual text all over the planet through time into one phrase, that would probably cover it all, plenty good. Okay. Um, I just have one more note here about peace, but that's kind of just going back over what I just said, because and I didn't make this up. This is actually comes from Rupert Spira, this phrasing, but we talk about joy and peace, but the way he describes it, and I agree, is that peace is your awareness, your consciousness at rest, and uh, joy is that same, uh, we'll call it entity, selfness, in action. And so it's just, it's a different way of just describing the action of the same thing, if you could call it a thing. So, um, okay, so now on to something a little bit more crazy. So, I was talking to my wife, who is way more perceptive and visionary than I am, and if I'm trying to get her to have a conversation with me on this channel, and if we can get enough support from the viewers, I might be able to convince her to escape her shyness. But yeah, she's better at seeing than at vision than I am. And I was talking to her about how, um, when we see things, it's you know we see things that don't conform to what we would call consensual reality, like, um, that the laws of physics are at play, and so on. So how does that reconcile? Because people report things that are true to them, but don't fit into the consensual reality model. And and are they lying? Are they embellishing? Or are they not? And so, um, a couple examples. So, one example is, people reporting seeing someone else levitating. Okay, maybe their physical body defied physics. maybe it didn't. I wasn't there. Um, and I've been in a situation where someone has seen me get up and move around a room and told me, "What were you doing?" later on. And I said, "No, I was laying down the whole time." I don't know how to explain that um, from that perspective. So, but here's the thing. This is what her suggestion was, and I think it's quite interesting, is that all the all the planes of reality, meaning just like the overlapping higher dimensions, um, they don't they don't have to be precisely aligned to each other. Meaning, and let me try to. That was a little bit convoluted. Let me put it this way. Let's say you were able to observe not my physical face or my physical eyes, but you were able to perceive in a way that was what I'm looking, like where I'm looking. Meaning that even if my face is pointed this way, if I bring my attention over here, then because because you're um, aware enough of my self, the the fact that my attention is going this direction would would inform your perception of me such that I might seem to be looking this way. I hope that makes sense. Um, because that happens all the time. It happens all the time that people's mind wanders in various ways, or that their energy, people get really tense, they might get smaller, they might be really relaxed, they might like kind of widen out in a sense, or all the different ways that the conscious mind can interpret these other higher levels of information, but then it has to reconcile that in the physical context. So it translates um, movement, levitation, color change, shape change, all these things. It translates that information back into a three-dimensional picture. And so if someone were to perceive another entity, and we talked about this with angels, if another entity were to become louder in a energetic sense, then that can come up not just as a sound but as an actual vision. Oh, there's something there. I can't reconcile it because I don't have the brain structure to perceive in higher dimensions. But what I can do is take that information and translate that into something that my four-dimensional brain is accustomed to. And then you see this kind of ethereal being, we'll call that an angel. Um, so yeah, it's a fascinating idea, and I don't know, I don't see any reason why that's like I don't see any flaws with that thinking. I think it's quite sound. Um, but I'd be curious about other people's opinions on that concept. But um, anyway, that's what's working for me right now. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is kind of funny. So my teacher, he had this phrase which was "Get off the cross, we need the wood," and he would talk about that. And he's a funny guy. He's always just poking at people and their silliness. Because and we see this a lot in society at large, but especially in the spiritual community. Like so many people are martyrs. This like, woe is me, the burden of the world on my shoulders, and all this nonsense. And as soon as I hear that, I kind of like, it's like such a cliche kind of. I mean, I get it that a lot of that stems from a sense of empathy, but it's a very immature sense of empathy, unfortunately. And I don't mean to judge people with that, but it's like to it's a little bit arrogant to say that you're so special that you're going to like take on other people's anything, you know, because the truly empathetic person, in my opinion, is not someone that takes on other people's burdens. It's someone that helps them and supports them. I mean, that's how you really love somebody else is to support them in what they're doing. Well, depends. To support them to be healthy and happy, not just anything. That would be ridiculous. But um, but not to just take their burden because then you're sabotaging whatever process they're going through, and they're not going to learn from it. So so I think that this is a and I don't want to get too wrapped up in gender stuff because I know that's a very hot political thing, and I'm not interested in that. But I will say that as a man, um, among men, it seems to be very difficult to accept uh, like help, to admit that you need help. Even if friends and family want to do things for you to assist you in whatever it is that you're going through. And and this has come up a few times with friends, and I just hope that this message can kind of get through that if someone offers you, like they offer you like to help, and it's something that would be helpful for you. I mean, because personally I'd say, if you can do something on your own, you should. Under most circumstances, you should, because it's good for you, and it's good for your self-confidence. It's good for a lot of things. Um, but there are a lot of things in life that, in terms of efficiency and practicality and just life lessons, you are being cooperative and leaning on your friends and family, um, is the most appropriate course of action. And yet, the irrationality of certain narratives, like the lone soldier, whatever, um, can get in the way of doing the most practical and reasonable thing, because you are only as strong and stable as the support system that you have around you. And this is the like it, if you needed to justify taking the time or resources from somebody that's in your group, in your circle, and family, friends, um, it's that you don't just take because you're a taker. You take with the understanding that maybe they're in a good position now and you're having a little bit of an issue with whatever, and then and they help, and then you get strong, and then now in your strength you are available to them if they need you. So there's this very reciprocal relationship there that's really important. So it's not that this hierarchy of I'm better than you or you're weaker than me or whatever. And no, we're cooperating. It's very important. We're cooperating, and um, when this side is low or high, then you adjust, and as life always is, then it adjusts again, and back and forth and on we go. Um, but to neglect your needs even when there's support there, your stubbornness is not it's not just hurting you, it's actually bringing down the average. Like, all the people in your circle may not be immediately affected, but eventually, if you're struggling, it's going to eventually put more strain on the group. And so you're actually doing them a favor by making yourself strong with their help. So it's a little bit of mental gymnastics there, I know, but whatever it takes, and then this is the plea to the men out there who have trouble asking for help. Whatever it takes, you know, the stronger you are, the better it is for the tribe. Take care.